Gruesome Magazine.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Heroes and Droids and HNR. Yes, we are going to do both series. Our podcasts are stuck together. We're jammed together like a multiverse of podcasts. Oh. Yes, we are covering Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness tonight, and we are incredibly happy to be doing so. I'm your host, Doc Rotten, and joining me tonight are the SLATTMAN, Christopher Slattery. How you doing, sir?
Oh, fantastic. How are you, Doc?
I'm doing good. All right. Also joining us is podcasting Rockstar and international cosplay queen, Vanessa Strange. Vanessa, how you doing?
Very good.
Yes, you're And let's welcome award-winning filmmaker, Christopher G. Moore. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm glad we could talk about this movie, everything Sam Raimi all at once.
Nice.
I've never been looking forward to talking about something so much as this film.
Was this one of your most anticipated films of the year? Or was it the most anticipated?
Well, if you know, I do like me some Doctor Strange. I might have cosplayed some mashup in the past. Secondly, one of my favorite directors is Sam Raimi. So yes, I was looking forward to this movie, and I'm sure you can't figure out how I think about it. You'll find out soon.
Yes, there's a buried lead. All right, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to give you our first impressions. That will be spoiler free, so you can listen to this, and then we're going to dive into a discussion. Not only are we going to dive into spoilers, which we have to, discussing this film, we're also going to give you some Easter eggs. Right, sir? More?
Yes, I have a few.
I have a few. And then we're going to wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score at 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And, of course, we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. Check them out and let us know what you think. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Share with a friend. It'll do us wonders. And, of course, as always, we want to hear your comments down below. Let's look at the card and get into things. All right. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness 2022. Available in theaters beginning May 5th, 2022. Directed by the one and only Sam Raimi. Written by Michael Waldron. The cast includes, but is not limited to, Benedict Cumberbatch, Elizabeth Olsen. Help me out with this name. I never can pronounce it. Christopher G. Moore.
Chiwetel Ejiofor?
Vanessa, is that right? Is that right, Vanessa?
Pretty close.
Okay, pretty close.
Ejiofor.
All right. Yeah. I always mispronounce it, and I love the actor.
And
I love the actor. The actor is so good.
Yes.
Benedict Wong, and then
Wong.
Benedict Wong.
Yes, love Wong. Wong.
Yes. Sorry. So I mispronounced.
It's all about the
Wong. Is it Sachel? Chacho.
Zoshel.
Social Gomez and Rachel McAdams. That's a name I'm going to have to learn how to pronounce because she is going to get a lot of stuff off of this movie. All right, the synopsis: Dr. Stephen Strange casts a forbidden spell that opens the doorway to the multiverse, including alternate versions of himself, whose threat of humanity is too great for the combined forces of Strange, Wong, and Wanda Maximoff. Or maybe that's slightly a lie. All right, let's get into this. What is our first impression of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? And, I'm going to throw you first here, Christopher G. Moore, because I'm dying to hear what you think. Because, you might not like this movie. What was your first impression, sir?
He doesn't.
Oh, I hated it so much.
No!
This film cast an happiness spell on me.
Nice.
Evil Dead 2 is my favorite horror film of all time. Probably my second favorite behind Star Wars. And Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 2 is one of the main reasons I became a horror filmmaker. And I think he you know, he has this sort of like attitude with his filmmaking. His filmmaking has an attitude, has a look to it that I love. And I think when he goes full Evil Dead and things, you know, like Drag Me to Hell and those type of things, or even the Doc Ock scene in Spider-Man 2, you know, he's the one that sort of kicked a lot of the superhero universe off of the Spider-Man series. So when I heard he was not only directing the second Doctor Strange film, which I love the first Doctor Strange, and I actually cosplay a weird version of it, but secondly, they were making their first MCU horror film, I was sold. And but when I saw it, I locked in the selling of it, because I absolutely love this book, because I think not only did it sort of like not only did it take the Doctor Strange thing, but it made it more playful. It made it more campy. It made it more fun, but it also had that horror aspect that I love, you know, and it has that horror comedy aspect of Evil Dead too, you know. Granted, it does have some really shocking, brutal moments that I think Variety or something just wrote an article about, like, why is this film rated PG-13? I don't think it's that level of it, but Drag Me to Hell was PG-13, and it has one of the scariest moments I've ever seen in film. So I love this film. I love the new characters we got in it with America Chavez. I think is a lot of fun. I think even though some people have questioned the whole Scarlet Witch character, but I think if you saw WandaVision, the very end of it, she's not exactly in a good place. She's reading the Darkhold. She's already tapping into that. But I don't know. The visuals in this, the camera work, the kinetic, there's actually visuals I've never seen in a movie before, to where he's expanded. There's some kind of thing. It's almost like a GoPro type visual where there's like one part where you see like hands coming from the point of view of like these weird, you know, demon creatures, you know, that kind of remind me of, you know, stuff from a lot of Sam Raimi stuff, from Drag Me to Hell, from Dark. There's elements of Darkman in this. There's elements of Army of Darkness. There's so many different things where he's pulled all these tricks, and and it's almost like, you know, when a magician takes an old trick and they put a new spin on it to where it feels something different, like Penn and Teller do. And he does this with cinema. I mean, and you know, again, maybe I'm wearing rose-colored glasses, and I've got, you know, and I'm focused on the Sam Raimi part of it. But again, that's what I was focused on. I love the shocking moments. I love the surprises we get. Don't get me started about a certain cameo by a certain Sam Raimi person. And I love the humor of it, you know, and I think there's a lot of fun that, you know, when it comes to dialogue, there's fun callbacks to dialogue that I think when you're writing a script, when you can break that callback, it works, you know. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many little fun stuff in this, and so many horror elements. There's so many homages to everything to Carrie to other horror type films.
Oh man,
you know?
very much scary.
There's this references to other, without being spoilers, other MCU properties that I loved. Danny Elfman did the music, and I would just listen to the music today while I did some overtime in my workplace at home, and like I was listening to Danny Elfman's music and how he incorporates other pieces of music and stuff, and also how Doctor Strange, his spell stuff is more fun in this. You know, It's not just like turning stuff into like kaleidoscope stuff. It's more just like fun stuff, like monster hands and all kinds of things. It's just kind of fun, you know, how he has fun doing spells, like you see the Saw spell in the trailer. So anyway, I'll stop ranting about my love for this. I know there's divided people. Maybe there's divided people in this group. I don't know. I'm talking like Trump all of a sudden, but
don't do that. Oh my God.
But I don't know. I've seen it twice. I almost saw it a third time today. But I love this film, and I can't wait to watch it more times. And I've caught like little things I didn't notice before. So anyway, to the rest of you people.
To the rest of you people, Slatman, sir, you are up next. What was your first impression of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness?
So I want to preface this by saying I liked this movie. I do. I really do like this movie, but I think it is a flawed movie. There are parts of it that work really, 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 really well. The direction is amazing. The cinematography is great. The CGI looks fantastic. The resolution, I feel like, of the movie, it works. It works really well. But there are parts of it that I feel, and the score is awesome. But there are parts of it that I feel that kind of are lacking, and I don't think they're Sam Raimi's fault. I want to say that. For me, the dialogue feels very off at times. And I have a really hard time of putting it into words as to exactly what I mean by that. But some of the I feel like some of the dialogue just it doesn't.
Were the parts of it that were campy too campy for you? Or
no, it doesn't work. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel right to me.
Okay.
It feels off, and not campy, and it not campy as in like Evil Dead campy, like it,
because there is an aspect of some campiness to some of Stephen Strange's dialogue. I mean, they even go so far as have was it Rachel Adams? Why am I saying her name wrong? But her, like she even reacts to it like, really, that's what you're going to say?
Yeah, but
McAdams.
Yeah, I don't know. But I will say that a lot of the issues that I have are, I feel like, wrapped up nicely in a bow in Act 1. And once we get past Act 1, we get into Act 2 and Act 3. A lot of those go away, and it becomes a lot more natural. And it becomes a lot more of what I want. However, but I feel like this movie is also...
I love the way you've started doing that.
Yeah. This movie also feels like, what it could have been. Like, I feel like they dipped their toe into the multiverse part when they really should have, like, blown it up. They dipped their toe into the cameo when they should have done more with it, because this is the multiverse. Like, this is the multiverse movie. Like, I don't think we're getting another one, especially now that we've had 2 in a row. Like, I think
they're going to be building.
I think you're going to see more of that if the mid credit sequence kind of hints at what.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just, it felt, maybe for me, I hyped it up so much before I saw it. And then when I saw it, I was a little disappointed because I was expecting more in that respect. But what we got was awesome, but it wasn't what I wanted. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
You wanted a different flavor of awesome.
Yeah, I wanted a different flavor of awesome. I wanted a little bit more of some stuff from column A, a little less stuff from column B, a little bit more into the horror, because the horror parts that were there were probably my favorite parts of the movie.
Oh gosh.
And yeah, but yeah, let's wrap it around. I did like it. I do think it's a good movie. I do think it's an awesome step in the right direction for the MCU, and I think Sam Raimi did a great job with behind the camera. But I would love to see them take this and go in the natural next step and do something and just kind of build on what they've already done. And then shout outs to Elizabeth Olsen. She was probably the best actress in this whole movie.
Oh my God, she's so good. She's so good. We are yes. Vanessa Strange. What was your first impression of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness?
I'm sorry, Slatman. I'm in Chris's court.
I
Chris and I both we are simpatico when it comes to Sam Raimi. Like, I
Yeah.
love everything the guy's done. I love his style. I love his characters, especially his lead characters and whatever he's doing. They're so unique and fun and flawed and always at some point getting the shit beat out of them. And I love that so much. I had no idea Feige would allow Sam Raimi to make a Sam Raimi Marvel movie. I had no idea that was going to happen because we're so used to the Marvel formula, right? Most of them feel pretty similar. They go down a similar path. They tell some story this in a similar way. And just now recently we're beginning to see it, like with Moon Knight, like with Multiverse of Madness. Things are different. Directors are taking it in a different direction. And oh man, it was like Chris said, it was like watching an Evil Dead movie. It was like getting to live that Sam Raimi awesomeness all over again, but through these Marvel characters, putting him in charge of Doctor Strange and going through this kind of repetition of basically figuring out who he is in the multiverse and why all these things are happening to him and around him, right? And I just loved that story. I loved America Chavez being in it. The stories that they tell with her and the way that their relationship grows is so fantastic. And I am always skeptical of when I hear horror is going to be incorporated into a superhero movie, because I never feel fulfilled when they say they're going to do that, because I've seen a lot of horror movies and I have a particular idea in my mind of when I think something is a horror genre movie. This 100% fills that bucket for me. There are moments in here. I'll just say, without spoilers, there's a mirror dimension moment that is just so like amazing.
Ooh, yes.
Amazing that there were so many times I was just like, wow, I couldn't believe it. I was seeing these shots and these moments and all this stuff. So yeah, I loved the Sam Raimi-ness of it all, but I also really loved the story. I cannot say Slatman is wrong. I did think it was going to be a little bigger maybe than it was, incorporate a little bit more, bring in a little bit more than it actually did, but I'm fine with it. I love Wong, and there was plenty of Wong in it, and that made me happy.
Likes her Wong. Yes. What
Wongo White.
All right, so I'll give you my first impression. All right, well, let's just stop and welcome Sam Raimi back. He hasn't directed a feature film since 2013's Oz and Great Powerful. So he's done some TV, but he's back into theaters, and he did a great job. It feels like this was the right film to bring him back with, and to bring him into the MCU. Please let him direct more MCU somewhere. It doesn't have to be even horror-ish. Maybe give him Fantastic Four. I don't know. I'd love to see him do some more MCU. I think he does a great job with it. All right, so I'm gonna I'm gonna build up to something. So bear with me, but I'm gonna start with Slatman's what he said, and I think this movie was way overhyped. I was really hyped for a certain multiverse of madness aspect of this, and I was really gung-ho for that, and I don't think it lived up to my expectations on either the cameos or what the cameos did. We'll talk about that in a little bit, or the or the multiverse of it. I mean, we'll get into the specifics of it, but I think we've all said it. I thought that was going to be a much bigger aspect of it. So I have that part of me. And when the film slows down, that part of me kind of bubbles to the surface. But when it is at its peak, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm actually very thankful that they were very restrained with the cameos. Even though I wanted so many more cameos, I wanted this one and that one and this one and that one. I wanted to see more X-Men. I wanted to see Deadpool. Right. I wanted to see everything. Where's all the, I want everything in here at one point or another. I actually am very thankful at the end of the day that they were fairly restrained. I still think we could have gotten a little bit more of the multiverse. I think, we see glimpses of quite a few, but we only really land in 2 of them for an extended period of time, or so. So I was, we didn't get enough. I want, so one day we said we want more Godzilla in our Godzilla movies. Can we have more multiverse in our Multiverse of Madness movies? But again, we get 4 different Stephen Stranges and sometimes a variation of those. So I really can't complain, but I really will put this down. There are 2 aspects of this movie, 3. I just thought of a third. There are 3 aspects of this movie that, besides the direction of cinematography and the music, it's 6. So those 3 are a given. You guys talk about this, but the relationship between Stephen Strange and America Chavez, with Spider-Man, being no longer in people's memory, she fills that gap with Stephen Strange so wonderfully, and the chemistry between them, her character is so important for Stephen Strange's arc in this. And it really is amazing. She's a star. The chemistry is fantastic. I really am happy about that. The second thing is Elizabeth Olsen. She is extraordinary in this. She is far richer and far more talented than any Marvel fan ever deserves. She really brings it. I don't know if she can get recognized for this, but I wish she would, because we saw her do this in WandaVision, and she really gets a lot of time here and really big moments and powerful moments, and her arc is powerful as well. And then the last thing is, and it's totally a me thing, totally a Doc Rotten thing. I saw this in 3D, and I don't think I've said this in 4 years or more. It was so good to see this movie in 3D. It played so well in 3D. It was amazing in 3D. It was shot. It felt like it was shot for 3D. It didn't feel like it was pushed into 3D. I'm pretty sure, it was enhanced as opposed to what James Cameron's doing. But it, all the direction and the motivation for the camera work was all to accentuate what 3D they have, but it's not in your face, although there are some, because there's a lot of hands and faces coming at you. But at one time, a big monster eyeball. But the depth of it, especially when they're like going through the different things in the paint world. Oh my God. If you can see this movie in 3D, I recommend it. It was a joy. And the Avatar Way of the Water trailer before it looks so rich and beautiful. Still don't know what the hell the story's about, but the trailer looks good. Despite feeling let down in certain aspects of it, other aspects of it totally won me over. It's one of my favorite Marvel movies, and I'm trying to figure out where to put it. I still like Ragnarok and certain, other Marvel movies much better, but and I like this better than the first one. Although I love the first Doctor Strange, I like this one better. This one because of the, I think, Christopher, what you were saying, bringing in the energy and the fun of Doctor Strange just felt more like the Doctor Strange I know and love than, from the comics than the first one. So it really captured it. And, we got to think that Sam Raimi is responsible for saying that comic book movies are not a fad with the Spider-Man movies, right? I mean, and to see him finally come back around is great, and I want to see more of it. So I love it. All right.
And
Well, I know that
Feige worked on the original Spider-Man trilogy with him,
Yes.
and has directly attributed Sam Raimi's style of direction and movie making to how he's adapted his style and direction in movie making to Marvel movies. Like the reason we have what we have today can almost be pinpointed back to Sam Raimi. And I
yeah, no,
love
Sam
that.
Raimi said he's glad he wasn't an asshole to him. Because seeing what he turned
Good
into.
call.
Also, Kevin Feige had mentioned that he pushed for the 3D version of this film because the previous Doctor Strange film was one of the most well received 3D.
Oh, nice.
versions
Oh,
of this
wow.
film. So
Well,
that's the reason they pushed for it.
Yeah, and it works. It really does work. It's amazing. I doubt it. I don't think you saw it that way, did you, Christopher?
No, I know that
Either
they were showing a 3D version at Alamo, but they had limited screenings for that. But I do want to see it in 3D.
I recommend it. Chris Slatteman, you didn't see it in 3D, did? No, you don't like 3D.
We were surprised. Doc and I saw it together, and
I didn't know.
me neither. When we bought the tickets, I had no clue.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into spoilers and a discussion. We'll try to keep it short, but I guarantee you we won't. Christopher G. Moore, why don't you start us off with some Easter eggs?
Okay, I'll try to get this really fast.
All in one breath.
Yeah, good luck with that. We did. Of course, we get the Book of Ashanti, which was created by a person named Agamotto, which, if you remember, he's part of the Eye of Agamotto. So that's a nice sort of a connection there in the comics. The America Chavez character, her jacket is pretty close to the version that's in the comic books, with the addition of a pride pin. And also on her jacket, it says Amor es Amor, which love is love. So that's a nice little extra thing they added that. There's a nice little New Way Home reference. There's a person on TikTok. It's like, they're not going to reference New Way Home because it's Sony. But well, Defender Strange says in the very beginning, he says, in the grand calculus of the multiverse, your sacrifice is worth more than your life. Well, in New Way Home, he said in the grand calculus in the multiverse, their sacrifice means ultimately more than their lives. So this is probably why people have problems with Doctor Strange, because he's always making these big decisions about people.
Well, that's the whole story.
Yeah, it is. But also that's part of his arc too, because with his character, he's always it feels like he's the only one who knows that can control things. And then you have a character in America Chavez who doesn't know how to control things. And you have this nice little arc where she controls things and he
has to let her control
it. So it's a nice little arc. There's also a part where he turns Christine's glass into wine, which is similar to him creating beer for Thor. And one of the beautiful things about Danny Elfman is the little hints of music from other things, including a little hint to WandaVision when they mention it's like, I know a witch. There's a green looking Minotaur character, which is kind of this. I think this is what I love about this. They don't really have to explain anything. This is a character from the comics named Rintra. He's an alien in the comics. He's just part of it.
They don't have to explain anything.
They don't explain it because we're just already in this weird ass universe in general. So we just go with the flow. Of course, we get all these different multiverses. There's one multiverse that has a living tribunal.
Yes.
There's a dinosaur world, a paint world, a water world, an Art Deco world with blimps. It's even has an old timey movie look to it. There's a world with stuff made of bones. There's a crisscross towers in the sky world. There's a Blade Runner type world. There's a bee world. There's a lava world. There's a pipe world for those people who like Super Mario. There's of course is the cartoon world, which we all wonder if that's a reference to X-Men 97 coming soon to Disney Plus. And of course, one of my favorite moments, Pizza Papa. Of course, we get a cameo by Bruce Campbell himself. who became famous because of Sam Raimi's Evil Dead films, who shows up where Doctor Strange does this spell on him where he's hitting himself, which is a reference to Evil Dead 2, where his hand becomes possessed. And he also squirts himself in the face with mustard, which is like when he gets shot with blood. For me, it was great to see Bruce Campbell. I know that Sam Raimi likes to include him in all his films as much as he can. So for me, that was very happy. And of course, watch the movie to the very end because we get a return to him.
Past the credits.
And I was, I don't know, I was kind of happy.
Over.
Yeah. So, and of course, it's also Sam Raimi loves Three Stooges, so you have like basically him doing Three Stooges to himself. So anyway, I just love that he gave a little bit of a nice little moment to spotlight his buddy Bruce Campbell in his film. So I just hope he gives him bigger roles, because I would have loved to have seen him showing up as another former Doctor Strange.
Right.
They confirm in this movie that the MCU, this world that everybody's in, is 616.
Yeah, they do. Literally.
So that's the first time we've actually got confirmation of that with Christine Parker. Christine says that she works for the Baxter Foundation, which, for those of you people who are big fans of the Fantastic Four in the comics, the Baxter building was the headquarters for the Fantastic Four. And for those people who didn't black out from watching the 2015 Fantastic Four film, there was a Baxter Foundation that was a scientific think tank to nurture young scientific minds. But we say that never happened.
No kid scientists here.
Or no hacker Dr. Doom. Anyway,
Hacker Doom.
Of course, we get the Illuminati.
Yeah.
Or is Doctor Strange the Illuminati? One of the many funny things that Doctor Strange says in this film. And we get all these alternate versions. My love for my thick Peggy Carter. We get Captain Carter, which we got to see a version of What If. This is probably a different version of that Captain Carter. We get Maria Rambeau, which is in her universe, she became Captain Marvel. She's actually the one that got blasted with the rays. We get the weirdest connection is we get Black Bolt, the actual guy who played it in the crappy Inhumans series that came on TV. But actually, he was a pretty cool character until one point.
Well, that was still cool though.
That was cool for me. I loved every minute of that. We get, of course, the biggest fan casting of anything MCU has been, everybody said John Krasinski should play Reed Richards, and we get that version of it. I don't know about your theater, but in my theater, people cheered.
When he showed up.
Yes, Big Tuna.
Of course, he doesn't last long either. And we get Professor X in his yellow hover chair
And green outfit, yeah.
and Danny Elfman includes the music from the X-Men animated series when he shows up. So I don't know about you guys, that made me smile from ear to ear.
Oh my
gosh!
gosh.
And saw him. And also there's a moment when Captain Carter says, "I can do this all day long," which is a nice callback to Captain America. I mentioned this earlier, but there's a part where Scarlet Witch shows up and she's like destroying stuff, and she's got all the robot blood on her, and so it's very Carrie-esque. The evil universe, the way everything is like sort of dissipating, is very like the What If universe when the Doctor Strange episode. Also,
it kind of reminded me of, not to interrupt you, but it kind of reminded me of Loki too, at the when they get to where they throw all the people away.
Yeah, that's very much that as well. But also, if you go watch it again, pay attention to the Sinister universe, because floating in the background is the car from Evil Dead. Sam Raimi is known for including that car in all of his films. There's a rumor it's even in Quick and the Dead, that they supposedly took parts of the car and put it into like a wagon or something. So, but it's included in about every film. It's Uncle Ben's car in the Spider-Man movies. I forgot I think it's the old lady's car and Drag Me to Hell. So it's in all of his films. let's see. The when we have like her when Mecha Chavez does the trick where she shows her to the other alternate Wanda version, Snow White is playing on the TV.
Mhm.
So,
Yes.
let's see. Also, the Mecha Chavez, when she finally realizes her power, she does this power move like this, which is the signature move from the comics, where she takes a fist and puts it into a closed palm. So that's nice that they're sort of going full out. Of course, she also has the automatic star alternate universe powers. Of course, if you didn't go take a pee break and leave during the end credits, there was a mid-credit scene for it where I was like, I don't know about you guys, I was not expecting Charlize Theron to show up.
Yes, as Clea. Yeah.
As Clea, which is the niece of Dormammu in the
Dormammu.
Dormammu.
Moo moo.
Are we the Homer Simpson from the Fat
Yeah.
episode with the
Yeah,
moo?
wait, hey. That's, you can get that on the Marvel campus. It's a Dormammu. It's a Dormammu Dormammu. Copyright. Trademark that. So if Marvel wants to use that,
There you go.
I don't speak very well. She was actually married to Doctor Strange in the comics, and then she talks about like there's an incursion, and which this could feed into. We talked about this earlier. Could feed into the Secret War stuff,
Mhm.
which deals with alternate universes fighting alternate universes. So I think we will get probably some more madness in the multiverse at some point.
That'll be all Kang there.
And here's the final one. I actually learned this. A friend of mine actually went to the Doctor Strange the world premiere. She actually got to talk to Sam Raimi, and he tried to sneak Ted Raimi in, couldn't get it. He also tried to sneak the what's the lady that played what's the warrior princess? What's her name?
Xena.
Xena Warrior Princess, the actress who played that, but couldn't get parts for them. But he did sneak a Xena Warrior Princess Easter egg. You know what that was?
No.
One of the statues in the Illuminati is Xena the Warrior Princess.
Oh, okay.
So you heard it here, folks, because I don't know if I've seen anybody
have
do
to
that.
go
'Cause a friend of
see
mine.
that.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, that's all the little Easter eggs. I hope I didn't go too long with that, but that's all.
I've
Oh,
got-
that's a lot.
I've got a couple more that I spotted, if that's
Go
okay.
ahead.
So one of them is kind of tied to your Snow White one. If you look at earlier scenes in that house, and when where Wanda's with her kids, you'll see other cartoons like Oswald the Lucky Rabbit
Mhm.
on the TV. And then this one I found out, which was kind of interesting. The giant squid-esque monster at the very beginning of the movie, the tentacle monster, that was originally supposed to be Shuma Gorath. However,
But
They don't own the rights to that.
if the rights to Shuma Gorath are actually tied up in because the name was pulled from a short story by Robert E. Howard called The Curse of the Golden Skull, and because of rights issues between Marvel and Howard's estate, they couldn't use Shuma, so they renamed the character. They pulled from the deep depths of Marvel and got Gargantos.
yes.
So
Wasn't
what
that
you're
that was
seeing,
the eyeball one, right?
Yeah, the
yeah,
eyeball
so-
monster at the beginning.
so what you're seeing is that was supposed to be Shuma Gorath, but it looks like we're never gonna get Shuma Gorath
Nope,
in the
nope, nope.
MCU now because of that. So
Between that and the animated tentacles, that's all we're gonna get.
yeah, I hope you really like your Shuma cameo that had a nice little pop.
Oh my God, I had so many people in my theater go, ew, because you get a big gory eyeball. And I was like, man, you ain't pulling any punches, Sam.
I
I thought it was
knew we were in
hilarious.
for it right
The
there.
sound effect with that was hilarious. I
I
giggled.
loved every moment of that.
It was just like a
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's start. Let's jump off of that and start about how this movie just dives in. and starts going, because we start off with America Chavez and Defender Strange on the run from some kind of demon, wrapped up demon monster, and they're trying for the Vishanti, Book of the Vishanti. Did somebody mention that it might have been a little too jarring? I thought it was great to just get in there and get going. Did anybody have any issues with the urgency of the beginning?
I didn't. I mean, I think for me, it's like I did comedic improv for 7 years. And when I learned improv, it's always good to start in the middle of a scene instead of the beginning of a scene, just get in the midst of it. I think that's why I love Sam Raimi being a part of this, because he always has at least for most of his stuff, he has a very kinetic energy to telling stories, and I think getting in the midst of it, I love that, and I think, and there's moments where it just goes from action thing to action thing, especially when you get into the second half of it, where you don't really have very much time to breathe. And so, yeah, I thought that was a great way to start it off. I mean, to me, that just showed the energy of the director, who's telling this story is like, he's not, he's just going to get straight into it right off the bat.
Yeah, there's no going up the hill for the roller coaster. You just start at the top of the hill and go down and race around. But we do get to chill out for a little bit for the wedding when Stephen Strange wakes up. He's having that dream, right? We learn later that the dreams that we have are from dreams of other versions of us in other universes. But we get Christine Palmer, of course, is getting married. And then Dr. Nick West shows up. Now, this is another Easter eggy kind of thing that we didn't talk about, but he talks about the blip. And, he starts off talking about that he lost his cats and everything. And then he ends with he lost his brother. And he really didn't. You start to. Okay, so what I guess I'm trying to say is that this little scene, which feels kind of throwaway with a character that, did this character need to show back up, is really important because it sets up the arc for Dr. Stephen Strange, right? Between this and what Christine Parker says later about, you always have to hold the scalpel, right? It sets up that, Stephen always thinks he knows the right decision, the right play, the one answer, right? And I didn't realize it at the time, but it was really so clever in how to get that situated without having to make Stephen over egotistical, right? Do you guys agree?
Well, that, and you realize that this whole universe knows what happened.
Yes, they know he made the decision.
They know he made the decision, and there's a lot of people that are not happy with that decision because maybe they came back from the blip and their whole worlds were turned upside down. Maybe they lost relationships or family, and they probably blame him for that. I was like, sure, there could have been another decision for that. So it is kind of interesting that all these people are judging him for this decision, and but yeah, I mean, I think.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
But I think also just looking at him also seeing how certain decisions play out a certain way, that a lot of times his decisions aren't, correct. And so maybe he needs to be more open to other options.
And we find out that all the Strangers have the same problem. And I thought that was great. But didn't we get another reference to Spider-Man about having web fluid come out of his butt?
Oh yeah, it's like he shoot out his butt, and he's like, no, or I don't know.
I hope not.
I felt like that felt very Michael Waldron, considering he wrote for Rick and Morty.
Yeah,
that feels like something that they would talk about a Rick and Morty. But I think was it the Venture Brothers or one of those series?
Yeah, they had somebody
that had a character who actually shot the webs out of his butt. But I did find, I don't know, those type of things I did find very funny. Just because I feel like that's something normal people would do. That's almost like the whole what was the movie that Kevin Smith did where they talked about like the penises of superheroes and stuff, to where you always ask these questions about like, oh well, how do they do this or that,
all right, so early on America Chavez is in the forefront. I mean, right from the very beginning, right, Vanessa? How
Mhm.
long does it take for them to establish her character as a potentially great Marvel character to for the future?
I get that from the beginning. I think her most important, or I guess maybe her first most important arc was when they are in that little memory cone or whatever that
Oh
shows you your
yeah,
memories.
later on. Yep.
Yeah, we see Strange's memory with Christine first, and we see her and her mom's, which I thought was really poignant too. I guess in the comics, she does have two moms, being from, I
Yes.
think she was from Utopia or something, a planet called Utopia or something. And I thought it was really nice to kind of just tell the story so nonchalantly and matter of factly, just my two moms, all this stuff, and then talk about her, what happened, how her powers, how she first got her powers with that bee sting, or first discovered her powers, I guess.
Mhm.
And then how that ties in later on to when Steven is encouraging her to trust herself. He's like, you've
Mhm.
known where you were going, you've known where you were sending people the whole time. It was always in you. You just have to trust your instincts. And that's such an important, story at the end. And that was at a moment when she was ready to give up. Like, she knew the only answer was my death at that point. And here's a dead man telling you, no, you don't have to die.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's something so great about Sam Raimi. He can take a corpse talking to a young girl about inspiration and trusting yourself, and it can be such a special, warm moment, And when she came out, such a badass when she did that. I loved that so much. She's absolutely going to be someone we're going to see a lot of in the MCU, and I think as a personal actress. And today is Free Comic Book Day, the day that we're recording this, and I went and to one of our local comic book shops, Ultimate Comics, and the number of kids talking to me about America Chavez, like,
Oh,
hadn't seen
really?
the movie or anything, no, pointing her out in comics to me, telling me how much they loved her, was incredible. So it's a character that's making an impact on kids, and like it was so cool to see it in action. We talk about representation matters. We talk about how having different characters matters so much to children and to adults, and you get to see it in action. And it was just such a special moment. And I just love, you were talking about his relationship with Peter Parker, right? And at one point in No Way Home, he's screaming at him and telling him, basically, are you stupid? You didn't go talk to her first before you had me do this spell. And then he has to remember, he's just a kid. So throughout that movie, he's learning, right, how to talk to a kid. And then he forgets all about Spider-Man. And like you said, we get it again here with her, but you can see how he treats her differently. How he recognizes, like, she is someone who is growing and who needs help, not someone who can be treated as an equal. He has to take down the Dr. Stephen Strange within himself, right?
Yep.
And that's so represented through their relationship and her character.
In my opinion, that's the glue of the movie. That's what
Mhm.
makes it. And the more you recognize that, the more you're on board with that, the better this movie actually is. And that's what I was
Yeah.
talking about. That what I wanted, I might have been disappointed I didn't get, but what I didn't realize is that this kind of relationship, this kind of story arcs are far more important.
Mhm. And I love that she ends up at the temple at the end.
Yes,
I
yes.
loved that.
Yes. And yeah, with Wong.
With Wong, yeah.
The part where
Made
she
some
says,
sparks.
well, I think my
Made
favorite
some
part when she
sparks.
goes like, "What up? What's up?" Whatever she says.
After all that.
Yes. Of course, she shows up. She shows up. She says from different universes, and they say prove it. So she brings out the corpse of Defender Strange. Because he zipped along with her right at the end.
Yeah, and he's like,
which
"Ugh, I have a ponytail."
I know. And they bury him in the bricks, but it becomes important. And oh my gosh, what a great horror element is to have our Stephen Strange dream walk into the corpse.
Well, when that happens later, I was like a kid in a candy store.
Yes, absolutely.
That's when it went like, because I think we've all been wanting like a supernatural superhero type thing.
Well, this group, yeah.
Yeah, and so like, well, yeah, and I think they haven't really developed, and like, yeah, I don't know. There's just even the part where Christine's like fighting off the demons and stuff to help. I mean, I don't know that when it went full like, zombie strange. I was like, oh man, I love every part of this. I
You could
can't say enough
argue
good
he's
things about that.
You could argue he's patient zero for the Marvel Zombie universe.
Well, I think somebody had mentioned that. Like maybe this is how the whole zombie thing happens is because of the Darkhold being able to possess and infect people.
There were some intense horror scenes in this movie. That one,
the eyeball opening up. Oh my gosh, scary!
The third eye. Yeah.
Yes.
Whenever one of Wong's students goes to destroy, I can't remember the Darkhold, destroy the Darkhold, and then when she burns up, do you remember?
The tear.
That's brutal,
goes
right?
down her face. I was thinking like, it kind of that felt very drag me to hellish.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, I'm really surprised. I mean, well, also, I mean, I think the only thing that I felt kind of gypped, I kind of wish we'd seen what happened to Captain Carter, but I think
that might have been a little too much.
That would have been R-rated.
That might have been too much.
But you get full on people like head
when
Wanda, they don't turn the camera away.
No, when Wanda comes out of the mirror dimension and she's her bones are cracking and she's twisted, I couldn't believe that I was seeing that. I could not believe that I was actually seeing that happen.
That's Stephen King's It. Well, the thing is, like, Wanda goes full like Jason Voorhees meets Freddy Krueger because she's scared. She's not. I mean, it's not one of these things where you can just use powers and psychokinetically move you, but she can change. She can change things with just the whip of her hand, like making your mouth disappear or turning, reed into like stringy stuff,
spaghetti.
I mean, just turning yourself against you. And that's scary in itself to where she can just at the drop of a hat do that. That's it. I mean, Tim, that's a true horror thing. I think Slash Film just wrote an article that they hope that she works with Sam Raimi again, because I think he's kind of tapped into the potential that she could be playing a really great villains in movies, but she's a great villain in this one. She goes full. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. The scene where she's trying to possess Wanda in her house, that's full Evil Dead crazyville. The Evil Dead 2 scene where Ash starts going crazy and starts seeing visions and stuff. That is full of that. There's even like parts of the music they kind of use in that. And
then she looks at the camera.
Yeah, I was like,
moment. Same.
They even
those moments, those recognizable moments and shots. And I know you're gonna hate this, Chris, but I really believe Sam Raimi pulled from Evil Dead, moments from Army of Darkness, moments from Drag Me to Hell, and I think he also pulled moments from the Evil Dead remake, because there are things that him and Fede Alvarez did in that movie that I saw come back. And I know you guys talk about Carrie a lot when she has the blood all over her, but that called back to the Evil Dead remake to me hard, seeing, our Jane Levy, covered in blood like that. And like, and it's to Sam Raimi, right? He takes and he picks and he chooses the things that he loves the most that he can put into it. And I really think that he chose from that movie too.
There's a way there's scenes where, like when Christine Parker is being attacked by the demons, and there's also a part where Scarlet Witch, the demons are attacking her, and he has this, I don't know what he has this camera where it kind of floats around her, but it's also kind of otherworldly. I think I mentioned it's almost like a GoPro type thing, and the way it's shot, I was the whole time I'm like, he's really advancing his techniques, his visual kinetic techniques with that, to where I was like, oh my God, this kind of stuff is like freaking amazing to watch. But I don't know.
I think the Scarlet Witch being the villain of this movie is probably one of the worst kept secrets of. I think everybody knew that was going to happen.
I don't know, not too much for me. I didn't expect we were going to see quite as much of her as we did.
Well, I didn't think it was going to be so soon. I will say that her turn being so sudden, I wasn't expecting, and I'm a little mixed about it. I kind of wish they had held on to it a little bit longer, but at the same time, I'm glad they didn't waste time with it. I feel like, and I've heard people say that there's a longer version of this movie. I feel like there's parts of this movie that didn't make it into the final cut because
Director's cut.
there felt some chops. I felt some chops.
Well, they
especially in Act 1.
Yeah. Well,
second act too. Yeah.
Well, they did. I mean, the reshoots and stuff. They redid some of it to sort of, I guess, explain things more. And they even, I think I've seen a lot of interviews with the cast and stuff, and they said that yes, they were changing some of it as they were filming it. So they were rewriting it and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm sure there's probably some of that. Although I will say they kind of made up with that with the shocking kills of certain characters that showed up. Well, because I mean that I had so many people who were like, especially when we get to Professor X, it's like somebody were like, oh my god.
Poor Professor X. He does not handle redheads very well at all.
No, all it takes is a red witch to take him out.
Red watch that scene where she comes through and she has this evil.
Her face. I saw somebody pause that in one of these review videos I've seen, and I didn't notice it because I've only seen it once. I didn't notice it as much then, but her face, like that's a deadite face. You know, that's an evil dead face. That's a Sam Raimi knew that face that he wanted her to have in that moment. Oh, so I loved it. I love that they killed them all. Well, a little bit like Deadpool kills the cinematic or Marvel universe, you know?
Yeah, well, they had a lot of fun with
that. The faces of the demons felt like some of the stuff from Army of Darkness as well.
The way they're laughing too, and they're making all these weird sounds when they're trapping Wanda.
So my gosh, too much. All right. So one of the, we talked about all the casting and having Krasinski finally be Mr. Fantastic, which I think we all said the crowds went wild. But Slatman, is this going to be the only time we see him as Reed Richards? Do you think? And I stopped the audience.
No. I'm mixed. I think that this might be a cameo only, and they might cast someone else as Reed Richards for the Fantastic Four movie. But I could also see them just rolling with it. The reason behind that is I don't think that they're going to bring Patrick Stewart back for X-Men when they finally do that. So
no, I think that's the last.
Yeah. Stewart. So it's like, I don't know. Would I be fine with it? Yeah. He did a pretty good job, but if they wanted to go with like a younger Fantastic Four for the Fantastic Four movie, like it would make a lot of sense to recast and this just be a cameo.
Yeah, I don't know if this is just to satisfy everybody, and of course, I think Krasinski really wanted the role, so this gives him the opportunity to do it without any commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Or is this an audition? Right? Are they testing to see if people really want to see it?
Well, you know what happened? They just lost their director.
Yes.
And Krasinski said he wouldn't mind directing a Fantastic Four film. So,
this could be the thing. Is that?
I hope not. I hope that's it. I think he was fine, but ever since the rumor of Glenn Howerton, who's Dennis and It's Always Sunny, has been coming around as getting cast as Mr. Fantastic, I cannot get that casting out of my head.
I don't know.
You got to think. Don't think about Dennis though. Think about Glenn Howerton, the actor who's creating this Dennis character. I think him. You put those white strips in his hair and you put him in that suit. I think he could nail a Mr. Fantastic. I think he has that look and that personality that he can pull off. Now, don't get me wrong. I loved seeing Big Tuna in the Fantastic Four uniform. I think he wore it very well. And I would absolutely love to see his wife in it too. The two of them together would be awesome.
Even the ears worked. Come on. Guys got big ears.
I think they did it though to give it to us. And then I think they will cast someone else.
Yeah. I have a feeling. But again, you might. What Christopher is saying, I've heard that too. That
Mm-hmm.
if they want to, if they see the reaction, it's an incredibly positive reaction, and negotiate a directing job out of it, I would not be surprised. That would not surprise me if it happened.
He's kind of too cool, isn't he? Isn't
He
cool
okay.
for
So
Reed
there is
Richards?
something to that.
So was Oscar Isaac too cool to play
Yes.
Stephen Grant?
Yes, but he pulled it off. He pulled it off, but yes, he's too
So
cool.
what's stopping John Krasinski
Well,
from pulling it
I
off?
He's
Well,
also a little too
but we
nice.
saw it. We
He's
saw
also
it
a little
though,
too
right?
nice.
And it didn't feel too Reed Richards. It felt like his version of Reed Richards. But when I think of Reed Richards, like that guy's fucking nerd.
He's
He is
also
the
cold, right?
biggest
He's
nerd.
cold, right?
Yeah, like
Well, that
I don't
works so well
know.
for 2015 version.
We don't talk about the film
No.
version,
That's
okay?
where they
All right.
cast
Well,
the
let's-
nerd in that.
Let's say one
No,
last
no.
thing before we wrap things up, because we said we were going to keep it short and we're an hour in. Let's just say thank you for giving Rachel McAdams a lot to do in this movie and important stuff. I mean, it's not the 616 Rachel or Christine Palmer, but we did get her doing stuff, and
Oh yeah.
I greatly appreciate that, because I felt like her character kind of didn't get enough in the first movie, and to allow her, and I was like, well, why would she want to come back? The way they treat her, my opinion. I thought she did. I really appreciate that. So thank you.
She was his equal in this
Mhm.
other universe. She was his equal, if not his superior, you know.
Yep.
And I like that.
Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. We're going to start off for Christopher G. Moore because we got to get the 5 out of the way. All right, go ahead, Christopher.
I'm predicting a 6 out of 5.
Nice.
And it's cool. What universe are we talking about? It's a 10 out of 10 in one universe. It's a 5 out of 5 in this universe. It's a 7 out of 7 in another universe. It's 6 paint cans out of 6 paint cans out of another universe. I unabashedly love this film. And granted, like I've said in several of my reviews, I am biased. I love Sam Raimi. I love his filmmaking technique. I want to be like him when I grow up.
Nice.
And a lot of my films have emulated shots. I just had a meeting today with my co-writer Amanda Stone, and I've already changed shots for my backward creep feature because of watching this film, because I want more cool visuals, more cool cinematography. And despite what people like Tarantino say about like growing older as a filmmaker, that you kind of lose your touch, Sam Raimi hasn't lost his touch. In fact, I think he's got that touch and more. He still has that little kid inside of him that tells these stories and has fun, has goofy fun with scenes, has great horror types stuff. He could definitely shoot horror like nobody else. I mean, there's like a really cool scene involving a big white room with a little dark cubby hole of a hand coming out that's just as creepy as anything you've seen. So this film is fun. There's a lot of fun dialogue. And I'll say this as somebody who loves it and gives a full 5 out of 5. It's not perfect, I guess, storytelling wise, but I will say that like it's seeing everything everywhere all at once. It's kind of hard to tell a multiverse movie and put too much in there, because it just becomes too much. And I think this is just enough to tell this story. I felt like there's a great arc with the characters. I think this gives a better arc, I think, in some ways than other stories told with Doctor Strange and other MCU properties. It's a fun film. It's got so many great moments. And I think when it goes the full horror route, it's having fun with it. And I've already seen it twice, and I can't wait to see it more times. I want to see it in 3D. I want to see it in IMAX.
Yes.
I just want it permanently inside my eyeballs where I watch it 24/7 now. Or do I? I don't know. I loved it. And I don't understand some people who've like really don't like it, which I guess that's just again, that's the subjective nature of it. But I will heap praises on it. until the end of time in this universe, or whatever version of me in other universes. I loved it. As for favorite scene, if you look at my Facebook cover photo, you'll know what I'm saying. It's when Doctor Strange learns to wrangle all these demons and creates like a demon cloak and creates this visual that is one of the coolest things I've seen in movies in a very long time. And just that sort of zombie Strange, who isn't some bumbling, where he's possessed this dead body and brings it to life. And when it's like, you see it like, oh no, just the visuals of it. I saw it a second time and I was just as giddy the second time around. So please give Sam Raimi more movies to tell his
More,
stories.
yes, more MCU, yes.
But anyway, that's my favorite scene, and I'll shut up because I could talk a million hours about this film.
Hours. All right, Christopher.
Okay, so I'm gonna bookend this. I like this movie. I think it's a very good movie. I think it is a great direction to take the MCU, especially incorporating more horror elements and more shocking elements too, like
more representation.
And more representation. Yes, but it's great that they're doing this because the MCU has gotten very cookie cutter, and this really tries to break that mold. And it does a very good job with that. And the shock value kind of helps, in my opinion. And but I'm also biased because I really like horror. I do think there's some flaws with storytelling. I do think there's some issues with the dialogue, and kind of how it's written as opposed to how it's delivered, mostly in Act 1. But once things get going, it becomes less of an issue. And I think my biggest problem with this film is something that Doc said when he did his first impressions. My expectations for it were completely different than what we got. And I think that's negatively impacting how I feel about it right now. So I'm trying to look at this subjectively as just a film and not with emotion. Which is why I'm focusing on, some issues with writing and storytelling and stuff that we get, especially early on, trying to get everything established. But what it does well, it does really, really well. The horror elements, the magic, the spells are really cool in this one. I can't remember who said it earlier, but they're more. But I agree, they're way more fun. They're way more imaginative, and the relationships between our main three characters, I guess, if you count Rachel McAdams, Benedict Cumberbatch, and I cannot remember her name, and I feel really bad right now.
Are you talking about America Chavez?
Yes.
Yeah, Jotel Gomez.
I'm not going to try to pronounce that because I will butcher it. But their interactions between the three of them are very well done. And I really like the growth that we get. Specifically with Strange and his relationship with those two characters. And then Elizabeth Olsen, oh my god, Elizabeth Olsen was amazing and was the standout performance in this. If anyone else was in Elizabeth Olsen's shoes, I don't think it would have worked nearly as well. Yeah, I hope that's not the end of her in this in the MCU. I don't think it is.
The contract says.
How many more movies does she sign on for?
I think she was signed prior to this. I think it was like 8 or something.
Good Lord.
8 appearances.
Oh.
To include movies of her own and stuff, but
gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah. I like what I do like what we got. I wish we got something different, but I'm okay with what we got. And to wrap it all back up in a bow, I do think this is a good movie. It's not trash. It's not terrible, unlike what some people are saying online. But I do think it is flawed, but it's okay because it's a great direction to take the MCU. Anywho, my score is a 4.25. And my favorite scene is the scene where at the end when Wanda is given exactly what she wants, and it's the monkey's paw situation where it doesn't work out. Her acting in that scene is unbelievable and so heartbreaking.
So powerful. Yeah.
And just that scene is phenomenal.
I liked it. Yes. Vanessa Strange. Your final thoughts, your score, your favorite scene?
I'll be quick because we've really covered everything I could possibly say about it. I absolutely love it. I love the horror infusion that this has. I love the vision that Sam Raimi brought to the screen of Doctor Strange and his arc of the ever-present question of, are you happy? Are you happy? And him,
Oh yes, isn't that great?
yeah,
oh my
him
God, I forgot
kind of
about that.
lying
That's
to
so good.
himself throughout the whole movie and up until the end, right? And really, it's his relationship with Christine and the other universe that allows that to kind of change, allows him to find peace and be happy and not be afraid to try to take chances, right?
Right?
With
And
people like Charlize
bows to
Theron.
Wong, finally,
And he bows to Wong. It's tradition, okay? I just love it. Definitely more Sam Raimi for me. Every canard shot, every ghost going, or not ghost, but Deadeye going through the woods shot that we got, everything that he could possibly do that was his, that he put in this movie, and new things he did, I just absolutely love. I'm giving this one a 5. Of course.
Nice.
Of course I am. And I'm torn between the two scenes, and I've already mentioned them before, so I think I'll be okay to kind of split it between those two. I absolutely freaking love the scene when Scarlet Witch is coming out of that mirrored dimension.
That was so awesome, wasn't
I
it?
couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe I was seeing that in a Marvel movie and that was happening. I couldn't believe it because it was so horror. That is a horror thing to do, to contort someone's body in that way. It was just, I loved it so much. And then the moment where Zombie Strange is talking to America about trusting herself, trusting her power, believing in herself, knowing that she's had this within her all along, that she isn't some horrible, out of control monster, that moment to me was just great. And okay, one more. Nobody's gonna claim this one.
Don't take
but
mine.
It won't be. Unless it has to do with Wong, but I doubt it does.
Okay, no, don't have to.
When Wong comes back and he takes down one of those big rock monsters and he's like, yes! And I love Wong, man. He's the coolest.
When he shouts for Strange too.
Yes. I love it. I love Wong.
I do too, and I love that he's getting more and more appearances in other movies like Shang-Chi and stuff. What can I say? I'm a horror fan. I'm a comic book fan. How is this not the film for me? It's kind of a no-brainer for Doc Rotten to love this movie, and I do love this movie. What gets to me is at the core is the emotional core of this movie. Doctor Strange dealing. He gets to share. Really the root of why he always wants to be in control when he loses his brother, right? Sister, excuse me. Brother was somebody else. That was different. That's Moon Knight. Sorry. But when so you get that, you get the relationship between him and America, and you get the love he has. In all universes, he's going to love Christine, right? So we really got a lot of character growth in Doctor Strange, and it's kind of it's the driving force, but it is got a lot of layers and cake and icing and all things on top of it, and I really, really appreciate that. So I'm going to give this a 4.95. And then the only reason I'm not giving it a 5 is because of the expectation. The same thing SLATTMAN faced, and I faced that too. And I'm giving it just that small little thing because of it. And even though I wouldn't have initially, but I think some of the trailers and the marketing, and I think Kevin Feige has come out and say that he's not entirely happy with the promotion because they gave away a little too much.
Yeah.
And I think that overstimulated the hype for me, even though I was already guessing. But in the end, I don't know. I really want to see this movie over and over again. My favorite scene, and I can't believe nobody's mentioned this, and I've been biting my tongue. We get talking about Danny Elfman. We get a scene with our Doctor Strange fighting Sinister Strange with music.
I'm glad you said that because I was gonna. If nobody had said that, I forgot to mention that. That's like one of the cool. That use of magic. Is fun.
It's so, but it's.
We didn't really talk about that at all. What you were saying, when he uses the magic to make the dragons come out, and the big hands, and the music,
but both of them do, right? So they're fighting with these different, different types of music and different instruments, and all the, it's being represented by, all the writing of music on the screen. It was, and it's a long scene comparatively, right? And it was just so beautiful. It reminded me of Fantasia, just a little bit, right?
Well, especially when Sinister sends that music back. That's like the popular music you hear in like horror films and stuff.
Yeah,
there's like,
yeah.
I mean, that I was like, to me, that's fun. They're just like shooting sparks or shooting, blasts to people. But him, when he's using it, and he's using it in fun, different ways, that's what made it more interesting. But that felt like the more just fun, campy Doctor Strange of using just monster hands coming out of somewhere, but just that whole scene with the music notes, or
and then the one note, ping,
ding.
Yes. But it was so awesome, and that's when I already knew that it's already obvious that Danny Elfman was a part of this, but that's incorporating all your artists that are coming in, right? And incorporating him in and it's so well done. It was incredibly magical.
This film feels like the most comic booky MCU because of moments like that. Where they're just it feels like something out of a comic book as opposed to just translating something from comic book into a movie. And I think that's what I loved about it, to where there wasn't the restraints of like, is this going to look goofy or campy or whatever?
Yeah.
Because I think you just have a character that kind of, this felt like those crazy horror comics of old, and having fun with that. I mean, some people have compared it even to Hammer films, just the horror, campy horror element of it.
Well, it's like, how do you go from like Ang Lee's Hulk, right? And how he interpreted a comic book film to, God, how many years later, this interpretation of a comic book film, right?
Right.
I'd love to see that arc, where we started,
20 years.
where we're at now. Yeah.
Almost 20 years.
Crazy.
One last thing. We do need to wrap up, but we didn't mention this, and I meant to mention earlier when we were doing Easter eggs. But when Reed Richards is introduced, he's using Doctor Strange's time portal thing. That the blue thing that comes down is the way Doctor Doom's that's the way Doctor Doom does it in the comics and in cartoons.
I was very confused for half a second.
Because I'm an idiot, but yes, Doctor Doom.
Also, I don't know if this is intentional, but when Doctor Strange talks about the Darkhold, he calls it the Book of the Damned, and I was like, you mean like Book of the Dead? It felt like it's very appropriate that Sam Raimi would deal with a movie with a damned book, an evil book of sorts.
Yes, but we need more Sam Raimi in the MCU.
I mean, he basically started comic book movies. Why can't he progress them past the cookie cutter
Yes.
phase
But
that
they
we've
just-
been in?
Oh,
we
Yeah.
got Raimi back. Just don't lose him now.
The
Come on.
horror MCU. Let's create that whole.
Can he do
thing.
Werewolf by Night? Can he do
Oh,
Blade?
that would be great.
Yeah,
Even if
Can
it
he
was
do Morbius
before,
justice?
You could do Morbius justice. I don't know what to give him
No.
next, but I think I don't think we want to corner him in the horror. He can bring the horror elements with him wherever he goes, but I want to see him do.
I love the idea of Fantastic Four.
Just
I think
I'm
he
sorry,
could
keep
do
him
a
in
good
horror.
But he can bring the horror. I mean, because Fantastic Four deal with monsters and stuff. So
Their
He did
transformation. If we-
amazing as
we talk
about their
with Spider-Man, and when he did Spider-Man, he
Yeah.
brought horror with him. So
Those are everybody's. Like nobody from our time can say that's not what is not their favorites, right? We
it's
grew up on
really
that.
hard. Spider-Man 2 is still kind of one of the best all-time
he should
Hell
superhero
yeah.
movies. with
give
Doc
him
Ock.
Hulk.
Oh,
I would say give him a new property. Some
Give
of the
him Deadpool.
other horror characters we haven't really delved into, like
Werewolf by
Constantine or
Night, I
something.
guess.
Man thing. That's too weird. But anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this up at an hour and 20 minutes. Christopher, Slatman, Vanessa. Of course, thank you all for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I'm sorry that I overgeeked.
All of us.
All right. Well, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.